X-Men 97 is dropping one twist after another, and Season 2 is turning out to be absolute cinema at this point. As someone who's grown up watching X-Men the Animated Series, I'm thrilled to see such a banger of a comeback. Now that only a couple of episodes remain in Season 2, I think it's fair to say that the stage is set for a grand finale. The second season has teased the arrival of Apocalypse in the 90s timeline for a while now, and the last few episodes have strayed slightly to cover some of the other intriguing comic book arcs. However, the climactic twist in the latest episode, Savage Land's Strange Heart, has given us a shocker that we surely didn't expect. As X-Force discovers the skeletal remains of Apocalypse, fans have been wondering what this scene's all about. Well, think no more, because in this video, I'll explore the true meaning of Apocalypse's apparent death and what you can expect moving ahead. How is Apocalypse's dead body revealed? Strange Land's Savage Heart was such a gripping episode that I almost forgot that Apocalypse still exists. After the showdown with the misguided acolytes led by Exodus, the X-Men are back where they belong, and now they have Colossus along with them. But elsewhere, it's chaos time. The X-Force, led by Cable, continues the hunt for Apocalypse. After all, he's been raised to believe that he's the one destined to kill Apocalypse, and he'll do just about anything to get that job done. They locate the secret lair of Apocalypse under the Parthenon in Athens, Greece. But it turns out that they're a little too late. As they carefully explore the place, they discover the lifeless body of Apocalypse, which is now shriveled and decaying from the looks of it. They also spot a single playing card, which is slightly charred, and it's a Queen of Hearts that surely belongs to Gambit. Well, Apocalypse surely looks dead as hell in this scene, but is he really? What's the significance of the charred Queen of Hearts found at the site? Let's quickly dive into the theories to find some answers. X-Men 97 doesn't shy away from major character deaths. We've noticed this trend in Season 1, right? It's a show that's not afraid to take out the main characters, which is what makes me consider even for a second that Apocalypse might actually be dead, as unlikely as it might sound. The first season had the terrible Genosha massacre where Gambit was killed, and then in the ongoing second season, the death of Magneto came as a shocker. Now, if Apocalypse is really dead, it would probably be the biggest death so far, but I'm still reluctant to accept this, because a show as good as this surely wouldn't make that great threat die off screen. Is this another Apocalypse? What if it's not an illusion at all? I mean, let's consider for a moment that Apocalypse is really dead, and how he could still be out there. You have to remember that here we've already seen multiple versions of Apocalypse across timelines. The X-Men, scattered across time, have encountered with Ensabanur in the past, and the futuristic version of Apocalypse in the distant future. This means that a god-level villain like him can also utilize time travel to get the upper hand. My theory is that the dead body we've seen here is that of Apocalypse, but this is the Apocalypse from the far future. His body appears old and withered, and it's possible that he's transferred his consciousness to the present-day Apocalypse in the 1990s, fusing them together. Now, imagine the implications of this as the Apocalypse of the future has brought in all his knowledge to fight the X-Men in this timeline. It only means that the version of Apocalypse that we see going ahead is going to be a lot stronger and wiser. As if this guy needed more strength to take on the X-Men in the first place. This theory is actually supported by another popular fan theory that pointed out the possibility of two Apocalypses present during the scene of Gambit's revival. If you go back and watch the transformation scene, you'll see one Apocalypse at the controls behind Gambit's head, and it looks like he's obscured by machinery around him. Then you see Apocalypse walking up in the direction of Gambit's side, which has prompted some to say that this Apocalypse is another one. In that case, one of the two might have voluntarily abandoned his physical form to merge with the other. If you ask me, I'll probably say that this is the most likely scenario, aside from the other obvious possibility, which I'll discuss in a second. Apocalypse could have transferred his essence into another physical vessel. This is not your typical mutant-hating bigot or other villains that the X-Men encounter. Death means nothing for someone like Apocalypse, who's effectively immortal and can transfer himself into another physical vessel. What we see in this scene is the lifeless body of Apocalypse, which is no more than a physical form for him, and can be discarded whenever he wants. The first couple episodes really set the possibility that he might transfer his consciousness into Cable, and this is something that's happened before in the comic book storyline, The 12, even though in the comics it was Cyclops that Apocalypse tried to possess. What makes this a genuine possibility is that the corpse of Apocalypse looks somewhat similar to the withering body that he left behind in the 12 comic book run. As of now, Apocalypse could have transferred himself to just about anyone, but somehow the possibility of Gambit looms large given the circumstances. Which brings me to my next point. Gambit is now the new Apocalypse. This is easily one of the most popular he's alive theories, because if Apocalypse has switched bodies, it's most likely gonna be Gambit. I think the creepiest part of this theory is what it means for the X-Men. They've been preparing to fight Apocalypse for a while now, but they have no clue about Gambit being resurrected. As a horseman of death, Gambit would be deadly enough. And as Apocalypse, he would be unstoppable. Imagine the plight of Rogue when an evil Gambit walks right up to her and tries to kill her. The only real question here is that there is no need for Apocalypse to switch himself to Gambit if he can control him already as one of his horsemen. Given how the show likes to spring a few surprises, it would be fun to see the most unexpected person be Apocalypse, which will probably only be revealed in the season finale. What if a resurrected Gambit killed Apocalypse? I wouldn't like this as a twist simply because it just doesn't make any sense, but let me still humor the argument for a second. We've seen the procedure where Apocalypse was reviving the corpse of Gambit as one of his horsemen. Gambit was expected to be the horseman of death, and the only way he might have killed Apocalypse is if the procedure has gone wrong. It's not entirely impossible that the whole horseman technology failed to contain Gambit, who betrayed Apocalypse after being resurrected. In that case, the charred card of Gambit that the X-Force discovers might be a fallout of this conflict where he killed Apocalypse. However, if this somehow turns out to be true, there will be some serious repercussions. Let's not forget that Apocalypse was handed out an important cosmic role by the Celestial named Isan, and in the case of his death, the mantle has to pass to someone. Isan believes that the likes of Apocalypse are necessary in order for life to evolve, and surely Isan will want the role to be taken up by somebody new in case he's dead. I don't see anyone more appropriate than Gambit to fit the bill, but like I said before, it just doesn't add up for me. Also, since we're discussing the wildest theories as well, I should tell you that Apocalypse could still be alive after Gambit kills him. What if Gambit was able to resist the control of Apocalypse and kill him, but then Apocalypse possessed his body, and the X-Men still have to deal with him only in the form of someone they know too well? Enough with the outrageous possibilities. Let me just get back to one more straightforward option. This body could simply be a decoy. In the comics, we often see that Apocalypse is a master of deception. He would do anything to misguide the X-Men into thinking that he's dead, and what better way than to stage a corpse? The body we see here might be a decoy or an illusion, which is simply supposed to take their attention away from him until he launches a lethal surprise attack. For someone with this kind of cosmic power, it's very easy to put together a corpse that looks like his, and I guess it is something worth talking about if we're considering just about every possibility. X-Force might be in for a nasty surprise. Well, it's a good thing that X-Force is more than a capable team, because they might be in some serious trouble here. Even if Apocalypse has jumped bodies, or if he really died, or he set up a decoy, there might be something waiting to ambush them in his lair. If it's all staged, they might have walked right into a trap, and this would be a fascinating start to the next episode as the X-Men find out the X-Force has gone missing under mysterious circumstances. Whatever be the case, I'm sure the crisis will need at least a couple of episodes to be resolved, which means that the saga of Apocalypse, or whoever has replaced him, will be revealed in the next episode itself. How often has Apocalypse died in the comics? Let's just say it's not unheard of. There are several instances in the comics where Apocalypse has seemingly died, but none of these deaths have been permanent, and it's usually the case with such a major character who's also technically immortal. I think the most famous instance is the one in the Age of Apocalypse where he was killed in the final part. Here, Magneto learns that his reality exists because of a time anomaly, and he helps the X-Men to go back in time to fix the anomaly. As he fights Apocalypse, Magneto nearly tears Apocalypse in two, and he's seemingly dead. Apocalypse is also killed by Cyclops in X-Factor number 68 when he pierced his armor with a powerful energy blast. Then we have the Ages of Apocalypse storyline, where Cable kills the spirit of Apocalypse with his scimitar. There's also the infamous storyline where Apocalypse killed himself by throwing himself into the engine of his flying Sphinx. So to put things in a nutshell, yeah, there are instances of Apocalypse dying in the comics, and it wouldn't be a complete surprise if the show decides to follow through. X-Men 97 has the tendency to refer to some of the iconic comic book stories, and it's just that it would be a bummer for the fans if a villain of this magnitude was killed off screen. I know there's an outside chance that the showrunners have decided to do away with Apocalypse entirely, and Gambit might be introduced as the new big bad. However, I really don't think they'll go ahead with something so absurd. It is one thing to introduce a twist, but it's totally another to stray so far from the established lore. Also, the fans definitely want to see more of Apocalypse in action, and I strongly believe that we'll see plenty of that in the final 2 episodes, as the show sets up the 3rd season. I'm just curious to find out what Apocalypse has in mind for the X-Men in this timeline, and how they'll deal with this overwhelming threat. Let me know in the comments below what you think of the crucial climactic scene that shows Apocalypse dead. Also, share your thoughts on what you think the chances are that he's still alive and planning something big. If you like this video, please hit like, subscribe to the channel, and make sure to ring that notification bell, so when we come up with more videos about mutant mayhem, you find out first. Stay safe, have a great day, and as always, stay marvelous.